Good morning, everyone. My name is Robbie. On behalf of PS Tracks, hey, thanks so much for being here today. I'm joined with Scott and Sean Delaney over at Water Witch, and I know your time is very valuable. Thank you for being here. I have a couple quick housekeeping things just before we get started and get into this. We set this up as a webinar format, which means you could kind of kick back and just listen. However, we want to make this more of a discussion. So we keep this pretty informal. You know, if you're already jumping on, you're noticing that. But in a few minutes, I'm going to be promoting everyone to a panelist. So what that's going to do is it's going to turn on your video and your audio. Again, we want you to be engaged. We want you to ask questions live. You know, interrupt us. It's fine. We're trying to make this as close to a standard roadshow as we can, doing this virtually, of course. So again, in a few minutes, I'll turn everything on. So just forewarning for everyone on that. And anyway, so I'm joined today by Scott. He's our one of our founders at PS Tracks, our president, and he'll introduce himself in just a minute. And then, of course, our main event, you know, Sean, Lieutenant Sean Delaney, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. And just so everybody knows, you know, Sean is volunteering his time to be a part of this. And, you know, it really just means so much to us. And, you know, he understands the value of automating and streamlining his checks and what this system has brought. So, you know, he's here today to share his system and answer some questions if you have those too. So, so we'll let Sean introduce himself in just a moment here, but I'll pass it off to you quick, Scott, and maybe say a couple things and then introduce Sean.
Sure, I'd be glad to. And good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Scott Bergeron. I'm one of the founders at PS Tracks. I shared my screen up, and we were just talking about before. I just had a chance to meet Sean Delaney yesterday, just on the phone call, and I'm really excited to have this virtual roadshow. Like myself, I've been on the road so much, just like Sean has over the last year. We've been kind of homebound, like a lot of people have been, and you know, we're so used to getting out to FDIC and FRI and all the local shows. I think my last one was at Texas Fire Chief Conference last March before they kind of herded everybody back in. We're out of Littleton, Colorado. I started the program back in 2009. My daughter, this is my daughter, for those of you who weren't on board, Nicole, she was a fire medic up in Black Hawk, Colorado, and was going through the situation of, this is back, as I told Sean yesterday, back in 2009, there was an accident, a major accident, where the fire truck, where he lost his brakes and in Boston and ran through a building, and a lieutenant lost his life, Lieutenant Kelly. And so Nicole's maintenance captain was looking for a program to, quote unquote, you know, streamline the checks, make sure that the communication doesn't break down. And so the result is PS Tracks, which is short for public safety tracking. So I always try to introduce my daughter. This is my 1-year-old granddaughter, who's now almost 7. But anyway, we're very family focused, family oriented company. We're a family business. Nathan Bergeron, for those of you guys who work with Nate, is our production director. Robbie's been with us. We've known everybody just about from, you know, for years and years in our company. So anyway, we want to make this very, very informational for you, but we also want to be able to make it informal, so you can pass things back and forth to us. My goal during this is to you know, introduce Sean. Sean's going to explain a little bit about what he's seen, and then bring it back. I'll show just a couple slides, show you some overviews, and then pass it back to again Sean to show you his system. Part of the unique part about what you're seeing today is that PS Tracks is very configurable. It's very customized for each organization. So we want to make sure that you understand what you see at Sean's place probably won't apply to what you guys do in some cases, but in other cases it does. So it's really exciting to have everybody on board. I'm going to stop share for just a minute, and you don't have to share up on Sean, but I wanted to introduce Sean and just have him say a few words about what we're doing, and then we'll get started.
Hey, thanks, Scott. My name is Lieutenant Sean Delaney. I'm from the Water Witch Hose Company #2 up in New Milford, Connecticut. Just a little bit about us. We are the largest town in the state of Connecticut geographically. We cover 69 square miles. Our department is fully volunteered. We have 2 stations. It is a fully volunteered staff. It is a on-call basis, so our guys are coming to the firehouse on a regular basis when their bells and whistles go off. As Scott had mentioned before, the ladder truck up in Boston, Lieutenant Kelly, was a big thing up in the Northeast, up in New England especially. It brought a lot of light onto what we are doing and how we are actually recording this stuff. That was one of the big things: paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. We all are sick and tired of doing it, but you know what? It's a way of us, assuring that not only are our guys safe, but we're safe as an organization. We run about 700 calls a year, non-medical. We run full fire. We have contingency, as you guys will see once I share my screen. We have a contingency of ladder truck, brush trucks, boats. We have 2 different waterways in town, so we have boats on both the waterways. We have rescue, multiple engines, a tanker, a little bit of everything. So it's a lot of moving parts in our department. So by signing on to PS Tracks, I'll be honest with you, it was the best thing that we could do for our recording system. I can't talk enough about this team, family owned and operated, people that are in the service, people that don't know the lingo. You talk to somebody in when you're ordering stuff and they don't know the lingo, you're like, what am I buying? What am I buying here? So these guys know the lingo. They're tech guys, talk to you like a regular human being, not like you're talking with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. So it's really a fun thing, and it was a real big undertaking. So thank you guys for having me today, and I'm here to talk.
Fantastic. I appreciate it very much, Sean. Just to go through, and I'll share my screen back up, and like I said, just go through a few of the slides here just to make sure we've got who we've got, and just answer anything that we can. But this is pre-COVID. You can see without the furry beard, but that was one of those decided. Actually, Ryan, one of our guys, too, grew this big giant. What was it, Ryan Fitzpatrick beard? But anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys, and I had the chance this morning to go through a little bit of what Sean's doing in his department, and he's using primarily the rig checks, the vehicle module, and the SCBA module. We actually have a full suite. We're a complete essential operations platform. And so what that means is it all integrates with each other. As Sean was pointing out, the biggest challenge in the fire service, quite frankly, is that you have more moving parts and pieces than any other industry, and you have more pieces or more people moving those parts around. And so it's really, really difficult to have a one-size-fits-all deal. So what's nice about it is, like I said, we have everything is all inclusive. The vehicles module includes everything that rolls on a rig. SCBA is all the bottles and packs and regulators and everything that goes with it. PPE gear, every crew member's gear, top to bottom. And what's nice about the system itself is it'll actually show you expiration dates. It'll show you when things were repaired last. It'll alert people when things break. It's really, like I said, very, very comprehensive, but very easy to use. Critical assets, just as a record, we serve, you guys are right in our wheelhouse. We usually serve, small to medium, large size, small to medium departments primarily, but we serve people like the city of San Diego. We serve city of St. Louis. Miami-Dade does all of their PPE gear through our program. We do Royal Flying Doctors in Australia. So we're kind of all around, but again, what's nice about it is it's custom configured. We built a critical assets program for San Diego a few years ago. Now that we're using it up in Washington State and all over the country to track individual pieces and parts of high dollar items like tick cameras or hoses or hydrants, things of that sort. So a lot of items that go into here. You can even use it for station maintenance, EMS supplies, station supplies, inventories now with full-fledged inventories with EMS and fire. So things like even from all the way down to batteries and toilet paper and paper towels, all the way up to ET tubes and full narcotics and narcotic handoffs. So again, everyone's got a configuration that fits them. I always joke about the one thing that's common with the fire service is nobody has anything in common between the departments. So again, we want to make sure that we're fitting this to you all and not the other way around. So some of the big challenges, like I mentioned, is right now, especially in COVID, especially in the Northeast too. And again, I work with departments all over the country and the world now, but you get to the West Coast, 6 months ago, or in Texas or anywhere else, and nobody was worried about that. Now they are. And so what you guys have done up in the Northeast is huge. We actually build programs for COVID inventories as well, and we'll kind of cover that a little bit. But as an industry, I mean, you guys are being tasked with doing all kinds of stuff with a lot less, resources now, especially, in paid departments, trying to get all the calls and all the time. It's just a matter of time. I mean, my daughter's on a 4896 with North Metro now, and every call is taking an hour longer than it used to take. And the reality is that, you don't have that many hours in the day. And so we're trying to streamline what we can and make sure that what you guys are doing is going to be effective. So manual checks, and a lot of times 80% of the departments back 10 years ago, 12 years ago, were paper-based. Now they're 80% paper-based and clunky software. And so we wanted to make something that, again, is very, very easy. The solution is really one thing, is that we don't want to make something that's just a generic one size fit in this box and make it work. This is PS Tracks, and PS Tracks is a cloud-based system. It follows, what the reason we made it cloud-based is it works on any platform. So anywhere you can log on to the internet, you can have access to it. So you can use it from your phone. You can use it from your phone out in the field, and you can see in real time on a workstation what's happening. And so what's nice is it's all in one. Every crew member has a unique login and password. They can see exactly what rigs and what items they need to be checked. It's very intuitive. So when crews come in, they don't have to say, hey boss, what do you want me to start on? They can see exactly what to start on. And so as an example, here's engine one, medic one, you'll see SCBA items. All of those different modules integrate into a dashboard that's real easy to see. As crews are making checks, and Sean will show you this in a little bit. Let's say we have 51 checks to make on engine one. If we make it, I can be on one side of the rig, Sean can be on the other. Probably won't be out of the way, but if I make 10 checks, it'll show, it'll go from 51 checks to 41 checks. It'll document everything that you're doing. It'll roll things forward. So again, all the documentation is instant.
You gotta log all the checks. Remember that.
Again,
I said you gotta log all the checks. My guys will go through and do the whole thing and then turn around and log it.
Nope, that's exactly right. And the nice thing is too, it eliminates redundant checks. So from the crew standpoint, it's very easy to use. They know what to check. But again, if somebody's already made the check, it's not a secondary or a redundancy to it. So everything is custom built again. So this, and Sean will probably touch on this, but when we start off, we literally roll everything into our build teams, and they'll take all your existing checks, all your NFPA checks, they'll take best practices and share those with you. So we become a real true consultant at the start, but we actually load everything in for you, which is really nice. Again, making it really easy and user-friendly. Complete data reports if you want to be able to pull out, who checked the left front brakes on engine one 3 weeks ago. You can check that, or you can check entirely what your percentage of overall checks has been, on time versus being late and things of that sort. So a lot of transparency, a lot of accountability that goes with it. One of the biggest things, do you use this a lot, Sean, on the alerts?
My tracket, my issues, my alerts?
Yeah, the issues, yeah, the alert module.
Alert is 100% fully set up,
Okay.
where not only do I get a text, not only when they set an alert does it go into the system, but both myself and the assistant chief in charge of maintenance get a text and get the picture and get anything else that we decide that needs to be put in there as part of the text message. So if you tell me that I have a leak underneath the right front side of my truck, they're going to actually take a picture of what is leaking. And when they actually upload that and they set the alert, I get it right on my phone real time.
Perfect. I wanted to make sure, a lot of agencies, we have two ways of methodology that goes with this. One of them is knowing right in real time exactly what happened, what's broke, seeing the pictures of it and things of that sort. Another is, you can see a status report at the end of the day of what findings have been, so you don't blow up your phone at the same time. So everyone's got the ability to see everything, but the alerts really are the cornerstone of this. We didn't want to just make a program that says, how fast can I do an electronic check? I didn't want to make one big X. We wanted to make sure that it fits. And so there's a lot of accountability that goes with that. So this is one of the huge issues of being able to track the workflow of you know, hey, I got a broken mirror, all the way to the fact that it was fixed. What did we spend on it? You know, how long did it take? How long was it out of service? Things of that sort. Well, like I said, being cloud-based, you can use any device, you know, phones, toughbooks, tablets, iPads. The vast majority, especially in a lot of volunteer departments, nobody even in paid career departments say you got to use your phone. In fact, a lot of them have gone out and bought iPads for every rig, and they said after 2 weeks, everyone's using their phone anyway. So,
Exactly.
you know, they could. It's not storing data in the phone for the record. It's not an app storing data inside the phone. It's actually cloud-based with Rackspace and Amazon Web Service, and it's backed up daily. And again, you can see the status reports to it. But yeah, over 80% of everything's coming through a device like any type of phone that you want. So they're just going through, making sure that their checks are done, and all the documentation comes right back to the station or the department. We do support barcode scanning. A lot of people have asked that. A lot of times your PPE gear comes preloaded or pre-made with the scanners on them. So it does support barcode scanning. And then finally, you guys own your own data. So we are not owned by a VC company or anything else. You guys have your data. If for some reason you decide that you find a better mousetrap, or you guys want to build something internal, it's all yours. So we know that, you know, the data is critical. And in this litigious society that we live in, I mean, being able to prove something is the most important, you know, one of the most important parts. Obviously, first being crew safety. But if somebody gets hurt or worse, being able to pull up the documentation is really, really critical for the stability of your department. So I'll kind of cover just a couple things. I mentioned before, we literally build everything for our departments up front. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It doesn't mean that you can't make adjustments. It just means that we've learned early on that nobody has extra time for the project. But you send us what you have right now. You meet with Nathan, Sally, Ben, and their team. You go through what you're doing right now. They'll ask you if you want to see samples of anything else, you know, templates for PPE gear or anything like that. They've been doing this for years, and they can provide those back to you so we can build you not only what you have currently, but what you might need. Our job is to go through it, you know, go through and manage the project, you know, format the data. I mean, literally making small T's, big T's, and dotting the I's where they weren't dotted. All of those things that go along with it. And then we custom configure it for you. We do all the training. We bring it back to you on a rollout, on a timeline. Back when, Sean, when you started, they didn't do this, but right now when they start doing the build meeting, they schedule the training meeting at the same time. So we have a dedicated timeline to get this rolled out for you. So this is a true partnership between agencies, between our company and between your agency. We want to make sure that it rolls on time and rolls right. Then any ongoing changes, one of the big things is we continue to stay with you. I met with Fresno, California yesterday, and I've got 2 former chiefs of 2 different departments now working with Fresno on the uploads, and they said, you know, the nice thing is, you know, anytime that there needs to be a change made, no matter how big the department, they can come into us and make those changes. So this is the last real quick slide. These are again the different modules. You can build these a la carte. So just like Sean did, you can pick what you want and start where you want, so you're not paying for what you don't need. Everything that we do is on an annualized basis. We just do it based on the scope of work. So we count up the rigs, we count up their stations, we come up with a price tag that's really affordable, manageable for small departments all the way up to large ones. So again, all of these are all inclusive with the modules. So if you want to add 600 items of inventories into each fire engine, we'll load 600 items of inventory into each fire engine. We'll break it all the way down to what's in what compartment, what's in what med kit, what's in, you know, all the inventory that relates to that.
I just have to take it one step out. I got the mayor calling me. I'll be back 1 minute.
No worries at all. And we appreciate that. And so things like I said, the stations, the narcotics, you know, inventory module, all of these are going to be all inclusive. All of these are going to be when you want to do them. So nice part behind it is a lot of departments will start, you know, say with 2 or 3 modules, and then they'll add things through the year. So whenever you add them, we just sync them up with the rest of your, you know, with the rest of your modules, and we go from there. So really, really easy to use, real functional. Again, we try to make it right off the bat as easy as we can. Before we turn it over to Robbie, do we have others online right now, camera-wise, or not? I didn't see any. Rob?
Sorry, Scott, I didn't hear that. It broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just, do we have somebody else joining us in?
No, we have actually had a couple people join us along the way, and
Oh,
yeah,
no.
but that's yeah, no, we're all set. And
Okay.
you want to pass it back over to Sean?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop share, Sean, and I'm gonna let you go. And I just didn't see the other cameras. I want to make sure they were, but it's just, we're at this point, we're just doing the virtual.
So
Sure, yeah. Go ahead, Sean.
so you take it away. I was just gonna tell you guys just a little bit about what we did and why we did it really.
Sure.
You know, rewind about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we're looking at all of our, truck checks. Our checks were antiquated at best. They were paper. The guys were walking around doing truck checks. There'd be months where I would go and look back at the truck checks, and two guys would have checked the truck in a total of 6 hours between hand. So a guy would go in at 9 o'clock in the morning, check the truck, and then somebody else would come in at 3 o'clock and do a truck check on it, and not even read the actual check that was done before, just assuming that the truck hadn't been checked. So there was a lot of stuff of, where's the paperwork on this? Where's the paperwork on that? Where's the SCBA stuff? How are we holding all of this stuff? I mean, the file cabinets were overflowing with truck checks, and it really was just 100% antiquated and absolutely, unorganized. About a year and change ago, I started really going, there's got to be a better way. There's really got to be a better way than this. It was not working. And I wanted accountability for my members. I wanted accountability for my drivers and my truck captains, my engineers that were, our department is set up where I have 22 drivers in our department that are certified and qualified drivers and pump operators. Of those, I assign a truck captain for each of the trucks. That person is in charge of basically making sure that the equipment's on the truck is checked every month, the truck is clean on a regular basis, the equipment is there ready to go and in operational, tactical operation. If that doesn't happen, I go back to that truck captain. That truck captain is held accountable for it. So it's very much, the emphasis is on the truck captain, and he has an assistant. What I usually do is I usually pair one of my older guys who's an experienced, operator, pump operator, and truck operator with one of my newer guys, one of my probationary members, because I want them to understand what's on the truck, what the equipment is. They can do all the equipment and asset checks, whereas my other guy can do all of the DOT checks. So it's two hands working together. And in my grand scheme of things, I want that guy that is the probationary member, the first or second year guy, to get so wrapped up in the truck that 5 years, 6 years down the line, now he's the truck captain. So we want to promote from within and really give them that area to shoot for. I was online. I saw it in Fire Rescue magazine, and I saw PS Tracks. And what is this? This has got to be this is kind of neat. Went online, started really researching it. Called them up. That was my first step. Talked with Sally Squires. I will tell you, from the time that we started the orientations and the ideas and the demonstrations online and everything, till the time that I decided to do PS Tracks was about an hour and a half. That was it. It wasn't a sale. It was, why haven't I done this before? I'm kicking myself in the butt for not having done this years ago. And it was really something amazing. It was something fun. Sally is great. She's awesome. She really puts it, every department doesn't do the same thing. We all know that. We all have the same problems, guys. Let's be honest. It's same problems, different address, USA. Okay. So That's the fire industry altogether, you know. But PS Tracks actually takes and works with you guys and works with how you run your business. They're not telling you this is how we use our program. You can't do anything else. No, I mean they're very flexible, and you'll see with my screen once I share it. It's truthfully it's built for what I needed it to be built on. And one of my biggest trepidations was when I started this was, you know, whenever you start a new program, how much are these guys going to invest in it? You know, are my guys going to sign on to this? Because you know as well as I do, the biggest thing around the firehouse is this is what we've always done. That's the common slogan. You know, anywhere USA Fire Department, and on the back of the T-shirt, this is what we've always done. I was very, very fearful because now I'm putting an investment into the system. I'm taking the time to actually set up the entire system, and I'm going to myself, I hope I'm not going to be having, you know, to be creating another headache for myself. It was actually quite the opposite. All my guys were like, wow, this is cool. This is really cool. And not only that, but these guys really got into it. These guys started, you know, understanding it and really wanting to learn more about it. So it was one of those things where after like the first month or two, which was a little more of a feeling out, some of my guys moved things around on the truck without really even telling us back when we had all the paper stuff, to now everything's organized. We know where everything is. It was huge. I mean, it was something that I again, I've talked to Scott and Rob, and it's like, why haven't I been doing this? Why haven't I been doing this for a while? You know, like, it streamlines the communication. Like I told you guys, we set up all of our users with text messages. So if there's an alert on the truck, we get the texts. Our guys, when we close out the alert, they get a text to say, hey, you know, what's the biggest thing that really kills momentum in a department is when a member says, hey, I have a problem here, and we listen to the problem, but we don't solve it. Or we solve the problem, but we don't tell the member that it's solved. That's one of the biggest things. They don't feel like there's no line of communication. There's nothing there that says, I heard you and we did this. Well, now everybody's part of a team. Front lights out on this truck. Okay, no problem. Call up the mechanic. He comes in, fixes it. Or I go in, take a little bit of cleaner, clean the wiring, reset it, and lights working. Okay, then when I close out the alert, then they're like, wow, that was fast. You know, that happened yesterday. You know, so we're seeing a lot more efficiency with the trucks. We're seeing a lot more management on the trucks. And the guys are actually really taking on now they don't have to worry about the truck check. Ironically enough, they're doing the truck checks, and now they're even getting more, they take more ownership of the apparatus. They really do. I don't know why, but I mean, I got guys right now, it's 15 degrees outside. I got guys outside right now washing a truck. Why? Because the driver of that truck said, I'm going to get it done before it snows. I'm like, okay, you know, it'll look great first run out in the next hour or two, but you know, it really is. They've taken a lot of ownership.
Do those doors like freeze shut like they do in Colorado? It's like, they wash them and they freeze up and they can't get the door back open.
Like it looks like a speed wash out there right now. I can guarantee you, those guys will go out, they'll blast it down, they'll get it all washed, and then they'll back it into the house as quick as they can to dry it all off.
Wipe down all the rubber. So yeah,
it's just like, it's you know, if I put a car wash sign out there, it'd be like the quickest 2-minute car wash that you had, but it looked spotless. But again, like, this can be done. One of the big things was COVID-19. Oh my gosh, you know, we ended training. We closed down the firehouse for a while. You know, only guys that were allowed in, and you guys were talking about calls are longer. I mean, the regular run for us usually took 20 to 25 minutes, right? Now it takes a half hour, 45 minutes after we decon the whole truck on a regular basis. You know, this type of stuff. Training nights, we were closing them down. We didn't want spread. We didn't want exposure. We had crews that were basically, you know, the cohorts were the crew. Guys on 26 didn't go on a 25. You know, guys that were on these trucks were their cohorts. And it was funny because at one point I actually had to turn around and say, we need to do something outside because these guys are getting too cliquey. They're getting too cliquey. They're like attracting each other. And then the guy that walks in, they're like, stay away, you know? But fast forward to the truck checks. These guys can do it anytime at any station. So I have guys that come in and do it at 9 o'clock at night. Why? Because they don't want to be around everybody. You know, flexibility. We give them a month. We do all of our truck checks. I was telling Rob and Scott, our guys come in. If they're like one of my guys is downstairs right now, he's already done his truck check for the day on the apparatus that he's going to drive. Okay, he does a regular truck check. Okay, but on a monthly basis for our OSHA regulations in Connecticut, we do a monthly truck check of inventory, DOT inspection, all that other stuff. So we go through it all, and I'll show you what that looks like on us. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna minimize this. All right, so basically what we have here, I'm just gonna go to so I did this a little differently because, like I said, the way our department is structured, each guy has their own truck. What I didn't want to have happen is I didn't want to have guys stepping on each other's feet. So really what happened was when we did this, we essentially basically broke it up into, we made each truck a station, which basically there's 2 guys that have access to it, including myself. So when it happens, each one of these units that you guys see, these are all of our apparatus. There's a lot of them. I mean, and each guy basically has one of these. So if you go into like engine 24, let's take a look at 24. So when I go in and I take a look, I automatically know that it's the 26th of the month, and I got a guy that hasn't done his truck check for the month. You know, I have 181 units on the thing, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, so let's do this right off the bat. So what I do is I set an alert. I select my apparatus. I set my truck alert, and I say, that's one of the captains, and the other captain is, hold on a second. Okay, and then it's going to basically be I never do to the actual day, to the last day of the month, ever, because they will do it at 11:59 that night.
On the 31st, yeah.
And then in a matter of 5 minutes, they'll do the next month's truck check because it opens up right at 12 o'clock. So basically what I do is I set an alert. Okay, so this is happening right now. The alert was created. So now these 2 guys know that Sean's looking at the truck checks, and they just got text messages while they're at work that says, hey, by the way, check your truck. And they'll go in and they'll do it. And then once they do, I'll clear the alert and I'll close out the alert. But let's take a look at this. This is engine 24. It's a 2,800 gallon Spartan engine tanker. So it's got a 6-man cab. So we have a lot of different tools on it. But it's also one of our heavy haulers. So when we go in, the items due, it's going to basically tell me, you know, all my apparatus checks are on here. Basically, PS Tracks does an amazing job of going through and looking at NFPA regulated checks. You know, what are we owning here? Like, do we own everything? And we do. So they do a very good job of going through it. So my guys think of me as a ball buster on a regular basis because I want full detail, you know. Just to have a one button click, no, it's not going to work. I don't want you sitting in the blue room or in my day room or in the radio room and just clicking on buttons. Nope. You're going to be at the truck. You're going to be holding on to something. You're going to be telling me what it looks like. So with my hours and everything, they enter it. With my fluid levels, I actually put good, fair, poor, so that they actually have to look at it and say, well, yeah, it's good, or it's 50-50, and then they'll put a note in there. All right. Every single one of these is, you know, holds them accountable for it. If they say it's good, then it's good. If they say it's fair, I want to know why. If they say it's poor, you're setting an alert. So when they create an alert, let's say the windshield washer fluid was low, obviously that's kind of an easy thing, you know, fix it. But like power steering fluid, I want my mechanic to fix it, you know. So what happens there is they'll click on this, set the alert, and then they'll put very low power steering fluid per the command zone. So the idea.
Let me interrupt you for just a second, if you don't mind, because the one thing I like about what you've done on this is that you see the ability to put in the notes that you put in. A lot of times there won't be any notes there, but you've also got the ability to add in things like tire pressures, you know, bottle pressures, things of that sort.
Absolutely.
So you know, like on an ambulance, you might have a tire pressure of 40, but on a rig, you might be 105. So I like the fact that you've got required notes. You have the abilities, guys, to do notes or no notes. You have the ability to do check all functions or no check alls. So again, we don't want to have one big X for the whole rig, but you might have a sealed tag unit like on a med kit or on something that like an OB kit, and you just have to record the seal tag number. So you don't have to go in and mark off all 20 things inside of it. You can mark off the seal tag number. And if that gets clipped or cut, then you can set an alert. So there's the flexibility on this. I love the way that you've done this because you don't want to make this a virtual pencil whip. Dave Kane, my operations chief, has worked with me since 13, says you're now allowed to use the word pencil whip. Okay, yeah. Not being directly from the industry, but that's what we don't want to have this happen. We want to make it good and easy for the crews, but we don't want to make it a gimmick, you know, just a big X. So anyway, I like what you've done with these. I just wanted to point that out. You can set these things up as you go through.
Yeah, you can set it up, and like a lot of the guys, even now, if they were to check when they go through their truck checks, they're going to check this off, right? Let's just check it off. When I press log my checks, that means that it goes to the cloud, right? That means that I'm saving this as an active check. Well, if I do that and I go log my check, guess what? They can't even log the check without putting a note in there. Because I want them to be interactive. I want this to be something where they're actually working through what they need to do. If they're not taking this and going with it, what are we doing? It's just a check. It's just, okay, yeah, it's done. So with the cab and the brakes, everything, all this stuff, we go through everything. We look at everything. The brakes and the air system. We check our air loss and our engine with our engine off. One of the big things. This was one of the big things with the ladder 6 up in Boston. The air loss on the brake lines. You know, they only lost their brake systems. So we actually drain and bleed. We drain and bleed. We pull it outside. We drain and bleed, and we want to know that we build up before that truck rolls out of the firehouse. With our electric, we're looking at all of our voltage systems, our pump. You know, what's the point of checking a pump if we don't actually have it outside, on and operating it? You know, yeah, the pump looks good. It's shiny, it's silver, it's got a whole bunch of levers on it and a bunch of gaskets that actually, you know, have numbers on it. you know, that's what happens. The problem is that we have to change that. So basically, when we went through the pump stuff with the guys, we literally told them, like, engage and operate the pump gauges. We're doing our discharge and relief governor operation. We're doing all of our intake valves. We're doing our discharge valves. I want to see hoses coming off of that unit, you know, and I want to see it. I want to see it happening. Drain the bleeder operation, you know, all of our pump valve, our drain valves are you know, are operated. Everything that we do, check for oil leaks in the pump area, check the pump and water tank for leaks, you know, the pump transmission fluid. All this stuff is just all stuff that needs to happen, you know. Same thing with our light tower. I was the guy that always, I swear to God, Murphy's Law, I am on a call at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I tell my operator to put up the light tower, and that light tower would go up, and one light would go on out of 4 or 6 on that truck. And I'd be like, I mean, I could do better with a flashlight, you know? It was mind boggling. So start the generator, run the mast. You know, I want to see a light tower that's up in the air. I want to see it oscillating. I want to make sure all the bulbs are working. We took it one step further. Last year, we only have one unit, and it's happening within the next couple of months. That is going. We retrofitted all of our light towers to LED, right? So, but I want to know that all the lights are working on that truck. You know, does the mast go all the way down? We had one of our trucks that the guys would get in and it would go down and it wouldn't nest, and the alarm would go off, and we'd be standing outside for 15 minutes at the job, you know, looking at why isn't it going down, you know. But I want to know that so that if we have a problem with it, we can actually address it. And then my inventory. I mean, let's just talk about that, because I was telling Robbie about this yesterday and the day before. I talked to you, Scott, about this. We saved money. I mean, money, tangible money. We are saving money because we have property management. We have asset management now. You know how many times I would get a phone call before this saying, "Hey, we lost a halogen bar off of this truck. We lost this off that truck. Hey, we can't find the chimney pan from the chimney fire kit." I'm like, who loses a chimney pan at a call? You know, that's, you know, I mean, there was so much stuff that was just going missing. And it was like, well, was it on the truck check? I don't know. So now I know that as of today, if one of my guys says cabin crew area, 1.4 gas meter, click on it, I know that it's there. I know that as of 1:20 on the 26th of January at 11:43, it was there. My trucks go out maybe 2-3 times a week, each one of them. Okay. We do probably 2 to 3 calls a day on rough average. I mean, sometimes when we have a storm, we'll run 45 calls. That being said, I now know when the last proof of life was on that truck. And then I can go back in and see, okay, when did that truck run? Where did it run? And then I can talk to the driver of it, you know. This is what I was telling you guys. This is the thing. It's log your checks. If you guys see that, it tells me to log my checks, because you can go through this entire list. And I've had guys that have, you'll hear them out in the back bay screaming at the top of their lungs. I walk out. What is wrong? I did the whole truck check and I closed the thing, and now I got to go back in and do it all over again. You know, it's like, as you go through this, I always tell my guys, as I go through one compartment, the second I'm done this, I want to log it, just log it. And as I do that, it gives me a running tally. That number is going to slowly go down from 181 to like 25, 1, you know, so it just continually just drops it down. I have 2 guys on the truck. They could be doing completely opposite operations on either side of that truck and logging this in and not freezing the system. I noticed with a lot of other systems, they're not web-based. So they're playing each other. They're playing against each other. This one, you could have 3 guys logging the same activities.
Yeah, I had a point, Sean, too, on this, and you just because you hit the 4 gas meter, I have a department in Washington State, and they filmed how you calibrate those gas meters, and they actually took the video, laid it down on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever, and you can actually lay down, that video right next to that gas meter. So if you got a new guy coming on board and it says calibrate after, every 3 months or every 4 months, you can actually have a video that shows them exactly how to do that specific task. I've got other departments that will take and take a snapshot of a compartment. This is what it should look like when it's done, and they'll put that and they'll attach that file right to the platform. So they go down through and they go, compartment 1, what's supposed to be in compartment 1? How's it supposed to be laid out? Here's my med kit. How's it supposed to look? So there's a lot of real, especially with volunteer departments and combination sectors, there's a lot. I mean, there's more pieces than people that never see each other. And all they see, the only thing they have in common is that rig or that station. And so this gives them the ability to have some more consistency to those checks. And that everyone's doing it the same way or has no excuses why they shouldn't be doing it the same way. Again, we're not trying to make this a big brother at all. We're trying to make this a unit. We act as a band of brothers. We're going through this to make sure this thing works and make sure it operates. Because if you're in the field and your air brakes go out, or like my daughter was on a call where all of a sudden they can't fire a generator, they can't pull the top off a car, there's lives to be saved, and there's a lot of pieces that go with this. So yeah, it's really cool. But I just had, when I saw gas meter, I had to just poke my head in for a second and just kind of point that out.
And I have kind of like double and triple redundancies in this actual system. So when you see a 4 gas meter on this truck, you're actually looking at just the 4 gas meter as a unit, right? That is that there is a CO meter on this truck. I actually have one guy that's assigned CO meters. That's all he does is when he does his checks, he goes into and checks the CO meter. Same thing with SCBAs. It'll say 4 air packs. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that there's 4 air packs on the rig ready to go. Okay, so let's good lead it in, Scott, because you help me bridge that one.
Good segue, right? We're buzzed.
Oh, that's why it's telling me to log my checks.
Yeah.
It wouldn't actually let me get out before I logged them, but I'm not going to log them because those guys should have already logged this stuff. But when you go down here, you see I have a whole nother station called SCBAs. Okay, SCBA station. That was fun to work with Kurt and the guys in the tech, Kirk Yamada, and the other guys in tech are just like, these guys are like awesome, because I come in and I'm like, I'm a firefighter. I'm not an IT guy. I'm not gonna spend 4 or 5 hours online doing all this stuff. Here, I send them what I have. I send them all these sheets that we did, and these guys turn around and make like, within like 10 days, they're like, okay, it's ready. We're gonna give you the platform now. I'm like, what? Like, huh? And these guys did it all like that, and they set it up the way we needed it to be. Okay, every different company works a little differently. You guys you probably have state regulations. I have OSHA in my state. Okay, we answer to OSHA, which is a whole different story. There's NFPA and then there's OSHA. Well, OSHA has their own set of rules, and then as easy enough, they turn around and say, oh, by the way, if we don't have a rule for it, just refer back to NFPA. So now we're like, we're going this way.
Yeah, I've seen it.
There's times where I'll get on the phone with my OSHA guy and say, which one am I doing? And he'll be like, well, go with NFPA. You'll never be wrong about that. I'm like, thanks. But over here on my SCBA, this is where I have 4 guys on a committee, and each one of our trucks is set up. Remember, if me, Scott, and Robbie were in our stations, nobody can see all of this stuff. When my guys come into to their truck, if they're assigned a truck, this is what they see. They don't see all of this. Okay. When I go to change, it's because I'm the administrator of the unit and I see everything. Okay. So these guys, but with my SCBA guys, I have 4 SCBA. I actually pride myself on this. We have 4 SCBA guys that are Scott certified guys.
Very cool.
They've taken the Scott certification classes. We still don't do any repairs in house. Why? Risk assessment, risk management. If a pack is broke, we send it out. Gone. We let the pros do it. They send it back. They give us the paperwork for it. So when you go into our SCBA, we set it up. Actually, I have 11 SCBA units to do. Right? I have 11 items due. What does that look like for here? And that looks like basically all of our trucks. So we have Rescue 22 SCBA. Let's do car 5 pack because I did it this morning. All right. This is, so each and every one of our SCBAs are labeled. And each one of our cylinders are labeled. So with that being said, I have spare cylinders for training purposes that are upstairs. So my unit, if you go here to my pack, it's car 5, which is me. I'm not car 5. But if you go, you'll see we label all of our packs with their position numbers, 26-1, 26-7, because that's how our pack tracker finds them. Our pack tracker is our system for downed firefighters. So each one of them is labeled. So the guys over at PS Tracks, look, you see the serial number? The guys over at PS Tracks enter the serial number, date of manufacturing, everything. Every possible situation, previous flow test, new flow test. We do all this stuff so that we have everything at our fingertips in one spot. So we were kind of sitting there scratching our heads with Kurt and everybody because we're like, well, we want to do it because the serial number actually attaches to that. If I decide to take air pack off of one truck and move it to another because of something, I want the records to go with it, right? So 26-1, if I decide to put it on 24-5, well, yeah, it moved, but I want that to go. So guys over there were like, well, we'll just use the serial number. And I'm like, wow, so they're able to, if we move something around, we just say, hey, by the way, this serial number changed from 26-1 to 26-5, and they move everything around for us. It's not like I wait 3 weeks for it. I send these guys an email and it's almost like the next day I get an email back. Oh, by the way, Sean, it's all done. I'm like, you guys are good.
Yeah, Sean, what's funny is over the last 12 years we've been doing this has been the number one issue is how do you keep track of those bottles? How do you keep track of the packs? The packs can be logged in at car 5, but those bottles move all the time. And how do you keep track of it? We were working with Orange County out in LA, and they said, we have 2,000 cylinders. You think we know where they all are? It's like, no, of course you don't. But there's a way, in fact, as part of the build process, I'll cover this in a little bit, that you can actually do this where you're not having to hunt and having to drag everybody in and take all your gear and do this. There's a real easy methodology that we've built over the years that if you had 2,000 bottles, guess what? We could probably have 60 or 80% of them in there on day one. Okay. Oh, yeah. Just letting your crews record what's where, but the ability to move these things around is huge. And so, and Sean, this is awesome. But we do have a hard stop at 90 minutes. But I just want to make sure that we get to kind of run through the rest of yours in the next maybe 5 to 10. And
absolutely.
Basics, because I wanted to cover some of the other modules and how we work and things of that sort, pricing. So
I want to hear about some of the other modules because really, when it came down to it, and I'll be honest with you, we beg, borrow, and steal. Our department runs 700 calls a year, and we have about $250,000 town budget. I mean, that's nothing. It's nothing. It comes out to about $35 to $40 a call. $6 a guy, because I usually have about an average of 10 to 12 guys on a call. So when I go up into the town council, that's exactly how I put it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I up my budget, that's how I put it. I put it in dollars and cents. It's costing you $37 a run right now, and the town is getting a really good deal. So when this happened, I actually did this, and let me just show you how this is done. All of our air pack checks should be done by the 15th of the month. And just to touch on what Scott said, they're done because we don't want all those revolving, most of our 4 guys usually get together all at once. What you see here are all of our auxiliary packs, but I do my own pack check. All of our guys get into the firehouse. When they get onto a rig, they do their own pack check too. This is for the monthly check to make sure everything is good to go on the truck, on the thing. So I just do this, and this gives me everything that I did. This morning I went through my pack check, and literally we're taking this from the manufacturer's recommendation. Okay, we're taking this from the actual check. Here's the thing. We all know that our packs have a black box in them. If we check this off and it hasn't been done, it'll show. We actually had a fatality up in a line of duty death up in Hartford, Connecticut. Firefighter Kevin Bell. He died, and there was massive amount of questions of when they were doing their air pack checks, how they were doing their air pack checks, when were things getting replaced, or if not at all replaced. Okay, so that was a very big local thing. Of in a matter of a couple of seconds, he lost almost half of his bottle. Okay, so there was a malfunction there. So again, we want to make sure that everything's going right, and so that's how we do it. We go through all of our SCBA checks, and then we go through our cylinder checks. Okay, so then when we check it off, it's checked off as a pair, so that automatically it's married together for the next couple of days. Okay. Other than that, though, I mean, I do an assets. You guys have a prop management assets, which obviously I want to learn right now what you guys are going to be doing, because I might add that to my stations.
Sure.
But our assets are just like Scott said. Nothing's due right now because my guys are already filling it out. But I have my CO meters in there. I have all my ropes in there for rope checks. My harnesses, everything like that is in there. And I also have all my extinguishers. I didn't know this, but I have almost 75 different water cans and ABC cans that have to get checked on a monthly basis too. So everything is in there. That being said, overall, I was telling everybody I saved a lot of money in the last year and a half. We were able to buy a whole nother thermal imaging camera because of the amount of money we saved. It was on loss stuff. Our loss prevention is we don't lose stuff anymore. Guys know when it goes and where it is, and they'll find it because they know that if they walk up into my office and say, "Hey, I lost a Halligan," they know it's $125, $150. Everybody knows, and they know that if they lost it, there's penance to pay. There is penance to pay in my department. So that's huge. I mean, it's really big, and I mean, you're talking about something that you can actually monetarily track. When I put something in there, I put my loss on there, and it'll calculate what my losses were for the year. I'll also pull up reports on my thermal imaging cameras. How old is my oldest one? How old is my newest one? Okay, maybe I might need to budget a thermal imaging camera for next year because I got one that's 10 years old and it's ready to go. That type of stuff is huge.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that very much, Sean. And yeah, anybody, if there's any questions or anything that have popped up, Robbie, if not, I wanted to show what we're doing and somewhat of the overall view of some of the other modules as well. And again, Sean,
Sure.
we've gone through it for From the price standpoint, we want to make sure this is very, very manageable, very affordable, and saves you money. This has to be a return on investment. 10 years ago, when we started this, I had more departments tell me this was a luxury that they just couldn't afford. And now you look at it and you say, you know what? Paper is the most expensive way to be doing your checks right now. And for every dollar you're spending, I mean, paper, you go down, you can order a bunch of paper from Staples. I do for my companies, and it's real cheap. It's the labor and the effort and the lack of accountability that costs you the most amount of money. Not to mention, like Sean said, I've walked into entire rooms filled with file cabinets. And if you just talk about rental space, or, you're talking about
all over the place.
There they are, yeah. So that's the beauty behind this is
they're full of nothing. They're full of absolutely nothing.
Like, here's our records of this. Now, again, there's a time and a place for everything, but the real equation that, and we've proved this with our clients, is that on average, the first year it saves $7 for every dollar you're spending on the software. It's a return, and that's not to mention the litigation side of things. So. Yeah, Robbie, was there anything that popped in beforehand or?
No, I was going to say that's really powerful stuff. Thank you so much, Sean, for
very much, yeah.
Testimonial on all of this. It's fantastic. We, again, and if you joined us a little late, I did promote everyone to panelists just so that obviously you don't need to turn your cameras on or everything, but you do have access to audio. Maybe we'll pause real quick, Scott, while you bring up the demo site and.
Sure.
And just kind of open it up here at this time for any questions. We'd like you to ask, Sean directly and keep this discussion based. So go ahead.
Robbie, was there a question?
No, I was going to say you can also use the Q&A
there's a chat function. Yeah, there's a chat function on here too.
Sure.
You can jump into.
Sure.
I'm gonna and as something comes up, Robbie, do what I did with Sean, just kind of wave out so I can see you on the sideline. And I just wanted to cover some of the basics of the entire kind of the platform, the essential operations. And this is really what you're looking at. We've done a lot of different configurations. The way that I have on my demo here is different than the way Sean's got it at WaterWitch. The nice thing is, like I said, you've got the ability to use your own naming conventions. You've got your ability to name your packs what you want to name them. You've got the ability to add different tasks on your own or having us help you with it. Following NFPA guides, DOT, OSHA. Again, we want to make sure that we're following the right protocols so that we can make sure that we're saving the most amount of first of all, safety, and then again, energy, and resources. This is the most, we have to maximize our resources right now. This is the way I've looked at this, and the way that Sean built his was each rig was a station. We built this one in this case where each station is containing, all of the SCBA with that specific engine, all of the critical assets with that engine, having your medic unit, your COVID checklist, which we built in, and actually that's a free unit. The COVID checklist. If you guys don't even want to talk about purchasing this right now, but you want the COVID checklist, let us know. It's on the house. Anything we can do to help you guys, it's on us. Okay. But in this case, if you're looking at mine on the big screen, it's going to be smaller on a small screen. You're going to see 1/3 of this on your phone. Its size is based on the device you're using. I like to use the big screen just so you can see the whole thing. You'll also see all of the open alerts. Vehicle station alerts, PPE. If I want to see all the alerts on PPE gear or SCBAs or critical assets or controlled substance, I mean, any of these, I can see all of my alerts in the center here, or as it relates to each piece of equipment. So on the right-hand side, we have a journal here that can be all kinds of different things. I mean, we can create categories for, general notices, training, pass-on reports. Oops, let me press that the right way here. There we go. Training pass-ons, crew alerts. These are just some samples. Again, everything you see on my demo page is a sampling. It doesn't have to be this way. It's kind of like walking into a house that's got a different color paint on the wall. It doesn't mean you can't repaint it. So we can schedule these and configure them the way that you need them. But what's nice too is the SCBAs. Sean was talking about how he built these. PPE is very, very similar, Sean, to what you have at SCBA. And you can go in and you can see, in fact, I'll just show you the kind of the report and the gear list on this. So you can see and break this out. You know, we've talked about all the equipment that's in fire service and first responders. PPE takes that and amplifies it by about 10. You know, so you can take these and you can assign these, you know, to certain users. You can assign different shifts, different gear types. So if I wanted to see every jacket in the house and I want to see when it expired, I can pull every jacket up. Okay, I can see the expiration dates. I can also pull up details and see entire history from the time we ordered it till the time it retired. Okay, and then after. So you can see every check that a crew member made, every routine inspection. You can see every advanced cleaning. You have the ability to do batch logs for things like usage events. You know, if you have a hazmat event, you can actually attach that to that PPE gear, and you know exactly which piece of gear was on which call. And again, it's all very, very easy to use from a crew member standpoint on the home screen for PPE gear. You can do an as needed check, or you can do a standardized like once or twice a year routine inspection. You'll see these over here. These are, I'm an administrator on my demo page, but you'll see I have I have a pair of pants, a helmet, and gloves that have not been inspected. I also see that I've got something that's coming up. Oh, it's yesterday. This expired yesterday. So again, I know as a crew member that my gear is expired. If I want to go ahead and do a routine inspection on this one, I can pull up my gloves. Again, I can have an NFPA guided check. I can do a select all. In this case, I'm attaching my name and the time I checked it to every one of these checks. So again, I can put in my notes in here, you know, all good, got both gloves. Okay, and I can log that event. And if you watch here, that will go away. Okay, so all the documentation is now instant. I can look back in my archives. I can see when Scott checked the gloves. I can see that he mentioned they were okay. I can see that he still has a pair of pants and a helmet to check as part of his gear. The last virtual roadshow we did was with San Diego, and up here at the top of his home screen, he had 11,000 items for PPE gear, and I panicked when I saw this on the roadshow. And oh God, but right here is where I have 55 items due. He had 11,000, and the first thing out of his mouth, the subject matter expert out there, which, you know, he looked at it and went, oh great, we had 40,000 there last month. So they checked off 30,000 items and documented where they were, who checked them, what time they checked them in 1 month. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this. Critical assets, I think, is Sean might have stepped back, so I'm gonna probably bypass that one. But we've also got the ability now to do things. In fact, I'll show you a little bit on the station module, which gives you the ability.
Hey Scott.
Yeah.
Interrupt real quick. Sorry, before we jump into the next module. Michael, thank you for the question. Was asking about integrations. I mentioned that we have the ER, integration with the vehicle module, and he was just asking maybe if you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And again, our system is a standalone system. We do have integrations built in, and an API team that if you need something specific into another piece of hardware or piece of software, you can ask us to do that. And we can quote those out on an individualized basis. We do have an integration built in with emergency reporting, and that basically, as we set alerts, like Sean was showing you, if you set an alert in one area, it'll show up in the maintenance module of the emergency reporting. We've also done one with controlled substance into image trend. I know in Los Angeles, I've had some that can actually do some purging back and forth with an API on both sides into some fleet software as well. But typically, like I said, this does stand on its own. It's not, you don't have to buy something else for an RMS to get this. It does function that way as well. So yeah, any questions, Mike, that you've got for specifics on that, I'd be glad to share those with you. And we can kind of cover those as well. Sometimes, a lot of times with integration too, it's a matter of how much time and effort is it work to get into those. We also have on our project board single sign-on that's on the short list of what we want to do, because there are so many different applications that are out there. Trying to get all of them to be married to each other is a really it's a tough puzzle for sure. But we are going down that path with single sign-on as well. So hope that answered your questions. Anything else that you want specific? And I'll share my numbers and just for the record, scott@pstracks.com. And my phone number, if anybody wants to write it down real quick, if they have to leave, is 303-918-3169. Again, 303-918-3169. It's my cell phone. I'll be glad to answer anything for you. Anything else, Robbie, on the chats? I didn't see any others.
No, that's coming through. I just I put your phone number in the email in the
Perfect. Okay.
In the chat there too. But
Perfect.
Yeah, nothing else at this time. And if you want to continue on to the next module, thanks, Scott.
Okay, perfect. Well, like I said, I'll run down through the stations themselves. We have a station module. Is kind of a module where you've got a lot of little pieces within the station and things like generators that need to be checked, cascade systems, or compressors, or EMS supplies, station supplies. These are all systems, or even station chores for that matter, can be put in the system. I always advise people, don't overbuild your systems. Build what you have right now, add on to it as you go along. So we're not here to reinvent your wheel. But we are going to recreate it or show you other folks' wheels. If you don't like your wheel, we'll show you some others and see what's going to work for you. But you can see in here, we've got everything from taking out the garbage. These are daily checks. A lot of departments will have certain things on certain nights or certain days. You can set these up all the way down, mowing the yard, everything else, all the way into minimum and maximum reorder points for EMS supplies. These are going to be our basics. Okay, we also have an EMS module. I know Fresno asked me about this yesterday, and a fire inventories module that are more thorough, that will actually flag you and send email alerts off to you when you get below a certain par level in your warehouse or what have you, depending on the size of the agency. So these are all really.
Scott, just to touch in on some of this stuff. The other thing is you can set the frequency of this stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
When you check something off, it's not like you have to check it off on a monthly basis or on a daily basis, or you can actually set each parameter within the actual setup to, like with my CO meters either get tested on 90 days or 180 days. Those CO meters that get tested on 180 days don't pop up on a weekly basis. And the same thing with the 90-day ones. It's really cool because you can set your calendar as to even what day you want to open it up to. Like I want my check to start on the 1st of the month, or you can say I don't want anything checked until the 5th of the month.
Right. As you brought that up, I'm gonna jump back just real briefly, and I'm gonna take a quick dive into the back end of the system just so everybody can see what it looks like, because that's a real valid point. We put as many checklists as you want, and not every checklist is daily or monthly. Like you said, you might have one every 3 months, 6 months, every year in July. Okay, every one of these intervals can be adjusted by you or by us. We have in this case, like on Engine 1, daily checks. We've got weeklies that are on Monday. If we want to switch this over to Tuesday, you can go back in and you can change the task groups. Okay, you can change the task intervals or the task timelines. You can actually search and sort within your parameters of all the items that you have in compartment 1. If you want to move all those to compartment 2, it's a 3-click process. So we know that things are going to be moving around, and we know that you're going to add things to it. So as an example, if I wanted to add one more thing, let's say this is a fire truck, and I want to add one more thing into it, I can add a task. Let's say I wanted to call this aerial hours. I can add that task in here. I can lay it down on my miles and hours, and now that's one more thing that I can have them do a check on. So again, it's really functional from that standpoint. On PPE, SCBA, critical assets is one more. This is kind of the asset list, okay? And this is something that's, it can grow with you, but most of the time it's like Sean was saying, tick cameras or hoses or hydrants. Here's some of the samples we've got in here. If you want to see a big sample, call me and I'll show you the San Diego one. If they've got appliances and kitchen, they've got refrigerators and roofing material, everything. But you can track all of these equipments, a drone, hydrants, hoses. But if I want to see, radios are a big one. The big thing about the critical asset program is that you can actually track grant funded equipment. You can track who's been assigned what, and if it pops up in another location, it can red flag you. This is really, you can see, this is so dang big that we have to go all the way, to get across to the other side of it. It's huge. I have to shrink it down to, but if you take a look at just the columns, who it's been assigned to, the description, you can set alerts with it just as you can on a truck check or an SCBA check. You can see in here the status, out for repair, the last location it was checked. I mean, it's really in depth. But you can even go in, like I said, if you want to track source equipment, if you want to track a grant funded equipment. And for the record, there's COVID money out there that actually can help with critical assets with PPE and SCBA gear. So just so you know, I just had that discussion and I've watched it. I'm not a grant person or anything of that sort, but check it out because these are all pieces. PPE gear obviously is not going on COVID calls. So are SCBAs. So are critical assets, as in a radio. So watch these things. But this itself, you can attach these to a vehicle, like you probably saw on our home screen. So if you have a certain thing like a tick camera, might be one of those things that you just want to make sure you have the tick camera when you're checking it out every day. But maybe once a month or once every 3 months, you want to make sure which serial numbers in which location. So you can go in and you can pull this up. This is engine 1. Here's a critical asset. This will show which radios were there the last time. Okay, is it present or not? Present or not? Here's an annual inspection on the hose. So you can have these set up, and again, you can set alerts for them all the way through, just like you would anything else. So again, I'm just trying to cover some of the basics behind each one of these modules. But as you go in, the inventories module, like I said, if you want to get into deep dives as far as complete warehousing or EMS supply closets, things of that sort, it'll track expiration dates, lot numbers. I'm not sure if we've got controlled substance folks on board, but I kind of wanted to show real quick just the transaction log for the controlled substance. So in our system, you have the ability to go in, do a controlled handoff of narcotics from one medic to the next. You have the ability to track the restocking events or the usage events. You can have the ability to see the control numbers, lot numbers, expirations on each one. So if I'm doing an arriving check on medic 1, as an example, I can see the entire logs, including the signatures. I can see who did what. I can see on which vials of fentanyl happen to be on medic 1 and who signed for them. Here's one signed by Dave on the 20th at 4:20 p.m. I can see how much ketamine was in there. So this gives you the ability, again, to track all the way down to an individual vial. We've worked with agencies like Pinellas County, Florida, that has 18 departments, and we're doing all of these with dual PIN authentication on controlled substance on here, and as well as critical assets. So there's a lot to cover, and again, I know we've kind of gone through some time. I want to just cover a few questions if anybody's got any out there, or just kind of go through how it works and how we price everything as we go in. So here's just a few slides, and I'll be glad. I know Robbie's got your email addresses. We can get this slide deck out to you to kind of cover it. But I just kind of wanted to cover the basics of pricing and things of that sort as we go through. So Robbie, any questions that have popped up yet, or?
No, nothing coming through the chat right now.
Okay.
We'll just kind of we'll keep talking. Yeah, we'll just keep talking, and please feel free to interrupt and jump in as you want. And I know we'll get Sean back here in a few minutes if you have direct questions for him. Maybe even I know he mentioned how rolling it out with his crews. We haven't talked too much about that, and how his crews adopted the PS Tracks program coming from a paper system too. So Scott, go ahead and continue on.
Sure. And again, I just want to make sure we're covering the bases as we go through. The individual modules typically will take a 5 to 10 or 15 minutes, into each one. So there's so many components that we're probably not covering for you that you probably would like more information about it as far as what we do. Again, I mentioned on the scope of work and the way that we start off is we literally will get a meeting of the minds together, a build meeting with our team and you. Go through and your folks as well. So if you have SCBA people or PPE, they have them involved in the build. As we start the build, we'll ask you what you need, what you already have, and then literally like Sean was saying, you can submit everything to us in the format that you have. So you don't have to like recreate it onto a different template. You can submit it over in a Word doc if you wish, or PDF. Excel is obviously a preferred method of what we do. But what's nice about it is once we have it, our team will literally load everything in, as Sean said, from serial numbers all the way through to quantities to everything, and then pass it back on an agreed upon timeline for you guys. Typically, his build on a small, like a 2-station, 2 modules, only took maybe 10 days. And it kind of depends on the queue and how many we're doing. We're averaging between 15 and 20, 25 cities or departments a month that we're building and bringing back. But we try to make sure that it's done right and done on a good timeline. Typical timelines are between 4 to 8 weeks from the time that you sign up. Typically, like I said, as we go through, a lot of departments will start off with 1 or 2 modules, and as they go through. So I'm going to cover just a couple on we talked about the case for paperless checks and the cost factor that's involved. And again, I'll make sure that this slide goes out to everybody. And I kind of mentioned the overall case for it. Obviously, the biggest one is crew safety. We want to make sure that things that crews are operating and know how equipment operates, know that we have equipment that works, light bulbs that are on the on the stand at night. So there's a lot that goes through. We also have a return on investment sheet that we can actually build for you that shows how much money your department would be saving for this. So this is kind of the meeting of the minds. Going and taking it up the chain is usually the biggest challenge that most people think is going to be a challenge. But as you can see, this will show you, even with an annual fee and a one-time setup fee, it pays for itself easily in the first year, let alone the second and third year. So this just shows a sample here of $7 saved for every dollar. Those of you want to know pricing in specific, it's based on, like I said, which modules you pick, which rigs you have. We have 2 categories of apparatus rigs. So we go through, we ask you not only how many you have, but which ones, how many engines you have, how many tenders or tankers. And we get a full scope of that on top of which modules that you want to go from. And it's very inexpensive. Like I said, most agencies are going to find, I mean, the rigs range between $75 and a couple $100 annually. Most of the modules are between a couple $100 and $250 annually for a station. So we can kind of cover those in more direct details with you as you go through. I'm going to cover down here, and if I didn't get your nice picture, Robbie, I got Sally's, which Sean worked with Sally. Sally's a great person to work with, and she's our account exec. The other thing that we do also, not only do we help administer the program throughout the year, so it's not just once we build it we're done with you. If you have big challenges, or you got big outfits for a new rig coming on, let us know. You just call us and give us the rig or give us the new equipment. We'll load it in the system for you. Sally's our account executive, and she works with all of our existing clients. She's coordinating annual review meetings with you just to make sure that you're using it to the most effectiveness. Sometimes there's things that we're going to see automatically because we work with hundreds of departments around the country to know that, hey, this might be a better method of doing this. But again, we're not here to reinvent your wheels. So feel free to reach out to us. I know we've gone through a lot, and there's always a lot to cover on this. But I appreciate the time and energy you guys put forth. The next step for a lot of you, if you like what you see, is to reach out to us. Reach out to Robbie or to myself, Sally, any of us. In fact, I'm sure that Sean will be. He'll provide his information as well. He's been a big champion of ours in the short time he's been using us. But the next steps, if you want others to see this one-on-one, be able to get some real honest feedback from your crews or other officers, is to schedule just a one-on-one walkthrough. And during that time, we can cover exactly what you need, go through exactly your specifics, and come up with a platform and a program that hopefully that works for you. So.
And Scott, I just launched a poll here, kind of as we're wrapping up. If you see on your screen, if you're following along, if you'd like to request pricing or a team demo or even both, I have that launched right now. If you'd like to dive into that further, you also have all of our contact information, Scott's email, phone number. Yeah, I guess hopefully we'll get Sean back for any last minute questions. But is there anything else that you'd like to see simulated, or questions you have for Scott or for Sean at this time?
I like Sean's chair there, with the flag behind it. He must have gone out on a call. So
I did see the flag up there. Yeah. Rolled up
There's
nicely.
a lot. Like I said, your guys' time is real valuable to us, and we appreciate just the opportunity to show you what we have. And we like to make sure that we're partnering up with our clients for many years to come. So it's we want to make sure it's a right fit. If it's not, like I said, we totally get it. But it's so far, I mean, it's been really well received by the crews, by the officers. We have a huge retention rate, which is we're really fortunate for that. But we work real hard for that. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right job for you. So thank you very much for the time and energies. And please stay safe, stay healthy. Anything that you need, feel free to reach out to us when the timing's right. Take care.